States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. You know we got a lot of stuff to get into today, but we know where we're going to start. Antonio Brown, star wide receiver formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, star wide receiver formerly of the Oakland Raiders, star wide receiver presently for the New England Patriots, who he just signed with over the weekend, has been accused of rape. There are allegations of rape by his former trainer, a female by the name of Miss Brittany Taylor. She has accused him of rape, and as a result, he appears to be in a world of trouble. We are not about to sit up here and engage in the guilt or innocence. It is an allegation. We have absolutely no evidence whatsoever to cast any judgment whatsoever as it pertains to this particular issue. A civil suit is being filed. Brittany Taylor has made it very, very clear to the National Football League and others that she is available to be interviewed, that she is open to discussing the matter. She claims that on 3 separate occasions, twice in 2017, she was sexually assaulted by Antonio Brown. And in 2018, she said he flat out raped her. So this is what's going on right now. Antonio Brown has categorically denied it through his attorney. Says Mr. Brown denies each and every allegation in this lawsuit. Statement from Darren Heitner, a lawyer representing Brown. Quote, he will pursue all legal remedies to not only clear his name, but to also protect other professional athletes against false accusations. The accusations are clear. The statement characterized Taylor's lawsuit as motivated by money, according to Antonio Brown's attorney. It was not clear whether Taylor reported her accusations to the police. According to the suit, Brown sexually assaulted Taylor twice during training sessions in June of 2017. First, he exposed himself and kissed her without permission, the lawsuit says. Later that month, the lawsuit says, while they were streaming religious programming on a tablet at his South Florida home, Brown started masturbating behind Taylor and ejaculated on her back. I'm just reading from the article in the New York Times. I work for Walt Disney. I'm reading, just in case anybody for Walt Disney's listening. I'm reading directly from the article of the New York Times. I'm not engaging in hyperbole. I'm not interpreting. I am quoting. These are the words that was used in the New York Times. The lawsuit contains images of profane messages that Taylor says Brown sent to her about the incident. Taylor ended her working relationship with Brown, the lawsuit says, but several months later, when he contacted her to apologize, she relented. She was, according to the lawsuit, quote, swayed by his assurance that he would cease any sexual advances. Then, the lawsuit says, on May 20th, 2018, Brown forced her onto a bed, pushed her face into the mattress, and, quote, forcibly, end quote, raped her. She tried to resist him, screaming and repeatedly shouting no and stop, the lawsuit says, but Brown refused and penetrated her. The statement from Brown's lawyer acknowledged at least one instance when the two engaged in quote-unquote consensual sex, according to Brown's lawyer, and also said that, quote, any sexual interaction with Mr. Brown was entirely consensual. The lawsuit says that Taylor told at least 3 people about the incidents: her mother, Brown's chef, and a member of her church who advised her to come forward. Quote, as a rape victim of Antonio Brown, deciding to speak out has been an incredibly difficult decision, Taylor, who is 28 years of age, said in a statement released by her lawyer. I have found strength in my faith, my family, and from the accounts of other survivors of sexual assault, end quote. In the statement, she said she would cooperate with the National Football League in an investigation. The league's commissioner, Roger Goodell, has the power to discipline players under a personal conduct policy that does not depend on the outcome of legal proceedings. In 2014, the NFL hired specialists in domestic violence cases to do their own investigations of allegations. Quote, from the New England Patriots, who just gave him $9 million guaranteed, an extra $1 million in signing, and $5 million in incentives he could potentially get if he were to play and succeed for them. The New England Patriots, owned by Robert Kraft, who's been adamant, has a no zero tolerance policy. A zero tolerance policy, rather, when it comes to sexual assault, domestic violence. Patriot statement, we take these allegations very seriously. Under no circumstances does this organization condone sexual violence or assault. The league has informed us that they will be investigating. We will have no further comment while that investigation takes place. An NFL spokesman declined comment. And there you have it. Top of the 2 o'clock hour, Antonio Brown's former teammate, former member of the Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL analyst extraordinaire for the family, and somebody that Antonio Brown has expressed absolutely no love for whatsoever in terms of going at him for the things that he has had to say about Antonio Brown in the past based on his on-field and locker room antics, Ryan Clark. He will be on the show with us at the top of hour number 2, followed by Ryan Smith, legal analyst for ESPN, who will be on with yours truly at 30 minutes past hour number 2. I broke that down for you. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not telling you it's going to happen, but I would tell you that I would be shocked if Antonio Brown is yanked from the New England Patriots and placed on the commissioner's exempt list and denied the opportunity to play for the Patriots. I would be shocked if that did not happen within the next 48 hours. Now, you're going to hear people from the Players Association and others focusing on process, due process. Going to hear all of that, no doubt. And I'm not telling you that that's the right thing for the National Football League to do, because Antonio Brown has not been indicted. It is not yet a criminal investigation from a legal perspective, meaning, like he's being threatened with jail time or anything like that. She's filed a civil suit. It says it's $75,000, but essentially, according to a friend of mine who happens to be an attorney, he pointed out how when it comes to Antonio Brown in this situation, he said the $75,000 that she purportedly seeks is the minimal amount she had to plead to get into federal court based on diversity jurisdiction. In other words, 2 parties from different states. Her actual claim will be in excess of $1 million, according to one of my legal sources. She was pleading $75K as a procedural matter to trigger the federal court's diversity jurisdiction, i.e. a plaintiff and defendant who live in different states. So it's not $75,000 she's after. It's more like over $1 million. But the point is, for me, for the purposes of this show, we're not lawyers. We're not defense attorneys. We're not prosecutors. We damn sure ain't judges. We don't have all the facts, and it would be irresponsible, regardless of your disgust with Antonio Brown's antics over the last several weeks. It would be incredibly irresponsible and, dare I say, unfair to castigate him as somebody who's guilty of the allegations that have been levied against him. And it would also be equally unfair to automatically assume that this woman, Brittany Taylor, is lying. We don't know. Period. No matter what way you slice it, we don't know. And unless you were there, unless you have evidence that she's lying or that he's lying, shut up about this particular incident as it pertains to its veracity or lack thereof. We don't know. Here's what's safe to say. The National Football League doesn't have to know. The National Football League, and I want to caution the National Football League on this as well, because at times in the past, when people have been placed in the commissioner's exempt list, you got to remember, it's to protect the league. So you take a person away from playing on the football field, but you don't take away their money. You're just not allowed to play. But in the past, when the NFL have made those decisions and they've conducted their investigations, I believe that following investigations that the NFL has engaged in egregious acts by literally castigating and painting a strong level of guilt towards the accused, meaning one of their players. This is not the court of law. This is not a civil. I'm talking about as it pertains to the NFL. It's not civil when it comes to you, the NFL. You investigate the matter to find out what level of justification warrants you either putting somebody on the commissioner's exempt list or not. That's all the information we need to know. Whether it's Ezekiel Elliott, who was suspended for 6 games. Whether it's Kareem Hunt, who's suspended for the first 8 games of the season. Whether it's Reuben Foster, who's been on the commissioner's exempt list. Greg Hardy, who was, by the way, convicted in a North Carolina court of law, but it was a non-jury trial, and the judge convicted him before he appealed it, and the case ultimately was dropped. But no matter who it is, the NFL has no business telling us who they believe is guilty or not. You are not the court of law. Stop. All that we need from the NFL is whether or not you believe a situation or incident warrants somebody being placed on the commissioner's exempt list to protect the league, the shield. And why does it need protection? Because anything that sullies the shield, that compromises the brand that is the NFL in any way, that impugns its integrity as an entity, as a commodity, you have a right to sit up there and say, okay, you can't go on the field wearing a uniform representing us. We ain't going to take away your money, but you can't do that. That's reasonable. That's all we need to know from the NFL. That's all we need to know. Because to tell us more elevates the level of dependency we may have on you to give us more in-depth truths about athletes and others working under your shield in the future, and you don't want that responsibility or culpability on your hands if you're the National Football League. So don't give us all of that. Court of law, they can do that. But not you. If you're the National Football League, all you have to do is tell us whether something warrants somebody's participation or arrival on the commissioner's exempt list or not. And in this case with Antonio Brown, I think it's undoubtedly so. Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioner's exempt list exists for the sole express purpose of protecting the league. That's why it exists, John. That's why it exists, y'all. And if that is the reason it exists, we cannot deny that these allegations against Antonio Brown, possibly false, if you take into account Reuben Foster's situation, where the woman actually admitted she lied because she was upset that he broke it off with her. And by the way, I heard no apologies directed in Reuben Foster's direction when that happened, by the way. When in the courts, the woman admitted she lied. And I saw no apologies aimed in Reuben Foster's direction. None. And he was excoriated by some. because his guilt was presumed. So we all have to be careful here. Now, that don't mean Antonio Brown's innocent. It doesn't mean that Brittany Taylor's lying. But what it does mean is that we don't know. So a civil suit or a criminal case, that's different. In the case of the commissioner and the commissioner's exempt list, none of that's required. The commissioner for the National Football League has the power to say your alleged actions or the fact that you're even caught up in this situation impugns the integrity of this league in such a way that it is difficult for us to let you go out on that football field on a Sunday afternoon representing our shield. We don't want it. So you can keep your money, but you ain't getting on that field until this case is resolved. The commissioner can do that. And I believe he will. Patriots will fight it now. They just got Antonio Brown there. They committed $9 million to him. They want to get something in return. I mean, damn, could you imagine? And you got to remember, Antonio Brown, I don't know if you watch Bill Belichick at the press conference and what have you. I think Antonio Brown is completely blindsided by this. Completely blindsided by this. He didn't see this coming. I'm talking about the Patriots didn't see this coming. Antonio Brown didn't tell him. I didn't mean Antonio Brown was completely blindsided. I meant the Patriots were completely blindsided by this. It appears they didn't see this coming. He didn't tell them. So one would argue that's grounds to cut him. But if you're the Patriots and you've already committed the dollars to him, you might not want to do that. And if you don't want to do that, then it's up to the league. That's the situation that we're looking at. This is some bad stuff, y'all. And if you're USA Today, Nancy Amore wrote a tremendous column in today's paper talking about Antonio Brown, pulling no punches. And she basically accused him of hijacking the National Football League. Because over the past few weeks, he's been the center of attention. Over the past few weeks, that's been what you've been talking about when it comes to the NFL. I mean, what is there to say? Headline, Antonio Brown becoming NFL's worst nightmare. USA Today. Article in today's USA Today by Nancy Amore. Opening line, Antonio Brown is going to spoil all those grand plans the NFL had for its 100th anniversary. They changed the lead from this morning. This morning was like, he hasn't just been the story of the league, he's hijacked it. This is what you're living with. This is what the situation is. It's going to be real interesting to see how things unfold here on out. I will tell you this, Antonio Brown's in a world of trouble. Because even, and we don't know this, but even if he's innocent, his name is associated with this, and it piggybacks off the reprehensible, clownish, selfish acts he had engaged in leading up to his arrival in New England. This is a guy that had endorsement deals. Watch me. Watch me. Watch me. That's what he was doing. Ain't nobody watching now. Not for that reason. It's not fun and games anymore. You don't want to see him on Dancing with the Stars now. You don't want to see him in commercials now. You don't want to see any of that. At this point in time, one of the top 2 wide receivers in the world will be lucky to be on a football field this Sunday. It's just the truth. Ain't no way around it. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less. Only at Walmart. We'll get to your calls and more in a minute. Don't touch that dial. Lots of phone calls to get to. Lots of things to talk about. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast.